Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Hi, everyone. There we go.
Hey.
What's up, Kim? What's up, Latasha? What's up, Reo? How are we, guys?
Good. What's good?
Doing good.
There we go.
Hi,
we got David
everyone.
coming in hot.
Hot ad. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Decentraland Music Festival. This is our second VIP panel of the day. For anyone that is not familiar, we are, sorry, hold on. I hear myself in world too. We are both in world in Decentraland, but also here on this panel. There we go. So today we have Coop here from Coop Records. He will be moderating an amazing panel where we talk about increasing authentic engagement in EDM. We will also be walking around and exploring Decentraland, so you'll see our screen online. For anyone that is not familiar, Decentraland is a social virtual world, and we are kicking off Decentraland Music Festival today. It is a 4-day EDM festival, online, free for everyone to attend. You just download Decentraland and you can jump right in. So handing it over to you, Coop, and have a great panel, everyone.
Thanks, Kim. What's going on, guys? How are we feeling?
Good.
Feeling good.
Feeling great.
We got a all-star roster here. So I know that the title of this discussion is Increasing Authentic Engagement in EDM, but my intention with this is really to bring people who have been in the space for a couple of years here. I think everyone on this call is taking a very unique approach to how they're using crypto and how they're using their music brand to kind of expand the space. So let's go around the horn here. We'll kick it off with Reo, who I see here on my left. Go ahead and give a quick introduction and background. Then we'll go to Latasha and then to David.
How's it going? Yeah, my name is Reo Cragun. I'm an artist and co-founder of Loners. And I make a whole bunch of music. Electronic music specifically is kind of how I broke as an artist, and excited to be here.
Word. Hi, everybody. I'm Latasha. I am an artist. I also like to think of myself as a sonic world builder because I utilize all forms of like music building, like DJing, etc., to kind of create worlds and stories. I have founded my platform Tosh55 and also founded Topia, which we'll be talking more about in the future. And just really excited to be here too.
I'm David, love music, love building worlds, started Hume where we build virtual artists, want to be like Pixar for music, and started with my best friend and co-founder, Jay Stolar, who's an artist and music producer.
And to round it out, I'm Coop, your host for today, founder of Coop Records. We're building a crypto record label, bringing a bunch of great music on chain. All of the artists that you're going to see live in Decentraland today are Coop Records artists. So we got a lot to unpack here. Latasha, I want to kick it off with you because I actually saw you perform at the Wave XR virtual world not too long ago. I feel like you've been exploring this kind of intersection of more immersive digital performances and whatnot in recent months. What's your kind of point on view on the current state of all these like virtual festivals, premieres, all this kind of new stuff that we're trying to do to bring concerts to the people online?
I think it's really telling of where the world is going. I think a lot of where we're about to go is the digital experience meeting the IRL experience. Also with the use of AI and all the things, it looks like we're just about to get real tech in this game. I don't want to go too deep into the rabbit hole of it all, but I do have like theories on why performance in the digital realm is really important, because I think consciousness is moving into the digital, which is a big, scary topic that people are not ready for. So we won't do that today. But I do
I kind of
enjoy.
want to hear about that. That sounds cool.
You might have to.
I don't
You
know
might
about
have to.
that.
That's a whole panel. That's a whole panel in itself. But it is really fun to try new things and try to perform in different realms, because it just offers a different like experience for yourself as well, and like a different kind of advantage to like getting to more people out there. Now I have fans really all over the world who are watching my performances from any place that I haven't been. So that is really the future of where I think performance is also going to be. I don't think the stage will ever go away. I think we're always going to have IRL performances, but I think the addition with a digital world is going to be really important for the future.
David, do you want to talk a little bit more about what you guys did with the Hume world and some of the early performances with Angel Baby? You know, obviously you guys having a roster of virtual artists, performance is very digital based. How have you guys thought about that in the past? And then what are your kind of current plans around that today?
So in the past, like step one was, what does a virtual artist concert even look like? And how do we make it in a way that actually felt authentic and the artist was engaging with the community and it didn't feel like you were just like watching a robot, basically. And the way we did that, and like hats off to our creative director Ethan, was making sure that Angel Baby, who when he was playing from the metaverse, looked like he was on a stage, looked like he was at a Kanye performance or Fred again if you're into dance music, like, and it really felt like that in the world. And that was step one. And I think we did a really good job of that, versus if it would have just been like, I don't know, it could have just been a character running around a robot world, or like felt like really AI. Instead we're like, no, we're going to make a performance and we're going to make it beautiful and we're going to make it feel as amazing as going to some of the biggest shows in the world, but you're seeing it through the screen. Step two, which was really exciting when we got to do this at South by Southwest, was like, how do we solve for immersion? Because virtual artists shouldn't compete with human artists, because that's how they lose. Humans are good at things that virtual artists aren't good at, even if we have tons of AI. Like seeing a real person perform live on a stage, it's going to be really hard for an AI to beat that. But what you can do with virtual is what happens if you make it more immersive. So what we did at South by Southwest was we actually were able to do an Angel Baby performance in a dome. So Angel Baby was all around you. The show was happening all around you. There were the entire roof was a dome, and there were screens all around that dome. And that's unique to a virtual experience. So that's
pretty electric. You know, some would say, David, that was a bull market concert. You know,
that was peak bull market.
It was a good time for sure. It was a good time. And speaking of bull market concerts, Reo, I don't know if you recall a little Criteria virtual concert that we hosted in On-Cyber, but that was 100%. Also quite an experience.
Was sick.
That was a whole bunch of fun. Yeah, so Daniel Allen and I had dropped this project, and it was something we spent a lot of time on, and we made a virtual experience for it with the On-Cyber team, and it was just a whole bunch of fun. It's interesting because it's like, you know, the funniest piece, it was right before the lead up to the Mint as well. So we had this listening party / concert, and as soon as kind of the music finished and all of it was heard is like when the drop went live, which was really exciting. And it was just, it was a whole bunch of fun, but it was also super sick because, you know, if you're trying to do these listening experiences in like various cities across the world, you can only capture so much kind of attention. The show is going to be different in each of those physical locations and whatnot. And so doing it online and virtually was a lot of fun. A lot more people were able to tune in. You know, it's like very hard to travel to different locations on Earth. So it was just a really cool experience. Yeah.
And I want to kind of ground us now in like the present, because all of those experiences I just mentioned were over the course of the last few years here. David, I know that you guys at Hume have been adding new artists to your roster. You now have artists like Death Pixie, like Kai, like Louder. How have you sort of evolved what you were originally doing with Angel Baby and some of those live performances into a more full-fledged label experience, let's call it, for the sake of this conversation?
Well, one was we realized we had to have more than one artist. And the other thing, which is similar to the Angel Baby conversation live, is like suddenly AI gave us in some ways the ability to make whatever we wanted. So the problem became one of abundance of choice as opposed to like scarcity, which meant that the choices we made actually had to be even more authentic, or else we would just we could make a bunch of things. We can make anything, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good. And one community that we felt really positive about was the funk community. It's a really big genre on TikTok. We also noticed like they're into anime. We also had a feeling like they would be open to crypto, just like the way this community is. It's very international. It's very internet native. And when we approach making Death Pixie, and we do this with all our artists now, it's like, okay, how do we make this as authentic as possible to this community? What are the things that this community gravitates to? What are the things they believe in? How do you make an artist that feels authentic to these people? And then scale. We've tried our best to scale that approach to different artists. And I think the other thing to just we did a V1 of it for the first time yesterday. The days feel like weeks this week.
Yeah.
But what does it look like when these artists are live streaming? So we've got a V1 of Louder live streaming, and right now it's very simple. Like you give him certain triggers and he dances in the room. But what does that look like as this evolves, and how do we make those authentic too?
I also want to call out, David, your guys' intention of going from just a crypto native audience to a more generalized audience. I know that with Angel Baby, obviously it being a fluff avatar, it's very oriented towards crypto natives. Death Pixie has been really crushing it on Instagram, on TikTok, on Spotify. Just to kind of round out this point, do you want to talk a little bit more about you guys going from just solely focusing on the crypto audience to trying to build a brand across all platforms?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big change. And one thing that we believed in, I think we're seeing it this week pretty hardcore, is that at some point people from TikTok and Instagram will come on chain, and those will be the places they come on chain. And learning how to create content on those platforms was a huge shift, because it's not about like the kind of tropes that happen in crypto. It's how do you actually have like a cool caption? How do you make a video that's just cool and fun? And what does it mean? That's going to go viral. What does it even mean? How do you figure out what Death Pixie or Kai videos are going to go viral? And it's a lot of testing, seeing what people like, doubling down on what they like. The font community loves fast cars. Death Pixie drives really fast cars.
It's got it down to a science. Latasha, I want to toss this over to you because David brought up live streaming, and this was a conversation that you and I had a few weeks ago. I feel like live streaming has very clearly become the main mechanism which people are discovering content these days. Tell me a little bit more about how you're viewing the kind of evolution of live streaming and maybe how it might play into the Tosh world in the future.
I don't know. I think live streamers took the role of rappers and artists at this point. And it's just like, you kind of got to get with it or go home. And I'm really excited for it, because I think live stream kind of brings an immersive essence to it. The fact that it is right there in your face at that moment is really exciting. And it kind of reminds me of performance art in a sense. And so I'm a big fan, and I'm excited to really tap into that next year with my new projects. Just bringing people on the journey with me of creating something very live and in person is where it's at. I really love how Kai Cenat has like gone, just the way he has gone with live streaming and just being himself, right? Like literally just playing video games and bringing his homies over and dancing around. And I think that's what people want to see. People want to really see people be themselves and kind of be in their rooms with them in their lives, you know? And yeah, and we talked about like the party essence and like the club essence of live streaming. And I think that is also important too. Like people don't want to go outside all the time, but they do want to see how people are partying, how people are, having fun. And I think, look, we're seeing parties right now in
There's
December.
the party right there.
People want to see that, I think people get an excitement out of seeing joy out of others. So I think live streaming is going to like even catapult even further for the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. Can I just add to that too? It's like I feel like there's just been like such a clear evolution of just content in general, right? It's like if you think about 10 years ago, like anything that came out from like any big artists or like an actor or something, it was all so overproduced, and it was like perfect, this like perfect image of what everyone wanted you to see about them. And there's not always extreme truth in all of that stuff too. You know what I mean? I think that the veil is taken away in a lot of like the live content, and even like content that's going crazy on chain, and then also like on places like TikTok and Instagram. It's more so just like, here's my phone, or here's like this live camera of me, and it's like fluid thought. It's real. It's more artistic in a sense too, because it's genuine and coming from just a different place than, oh shoot, I'm gonna do this. It's all extremely structured and produced. It feels a little bit more organic, and it's kind of cool. I'm really stoked that it's kind of ended up this way. Because someone like myself, like, don't get me wrong, I love making music videos and stuff, but me, I just, I'm a t-shirt, I wear my sweatpants like on a regular basis, and it's like, if I can show that to people, I think like the art feels more genuine too, the things that I'm creating.
I feel like it's one of the mediums that's really been connecting with people both in music and in crypto. And I think it's really important to call out. I feel like the last few weeks we've seen a lot of these Twitter accounts start to live stream on Twitch, and now start to stream them trading tokens on Pump Fund, them bringing on founders and whatnot. And I think it's just been really fascinating to watch that medium kind of come to crypto in a way that it felt like Twitter Spaces occupied a lot in the last cycle. It kind of feels like live stream is now kind of filling that gap. And I think that there is a lot of parallels there with music, and specifically on those Kai streams, you'll see like, Marshmello coming on stream, or you'll see like Lil Dicky coming on stream, and you'll see all these artists basically coming on stream to debut their music. I see like Twitch live streamers like Playboy Max debuting like a new Cardi single or something like that. And you'll kind of see this new mechanism for like breaking music. And I feel like it's a really interesting way to kind of get it to the world in a very real-time format. To Rio's point, it's like when you're posting content on TikTok or Instagram, you're polishing it, you're cleaning it up, you have a release schedule, but with live stream, it's all right there. And so obviously it's a very time-intensive task. You have to be committed to doing live streams very consistently for a very long period of time. But I just wanted to give credit to Latasha for really bringing that front and center to my attention, at least, months ago at this point, and now really watching that come to fruition. It feels like there's a lot of opportunity there for musicians and label owners and whatnot to really get familiar with this whole live streaming game and figure out how it ties into everything else.
I also feel like in some ways we were talking about this morning with our team, like it's not easier, but there's something Reo and Latasha, you both said, like it's more organic. And because it's more organic and because you're just like in your flow, it might feel more in flow than when you're trying to put together all the release assets and making sure you have like a teaser video and making sure you have this, which is a lot of work, and it's very curated and very cool. But there's something about just like being in a flow and you're on a live stream. You're like, yeah, we did this. We're putting this out today. It's like you're compounding on all the things that you're doing anyway.
Right.
Versus needing to do all the things that you're doing anyway, and then also needing to do all this other stuff so that it all looks really polished and comes out. So
I think we gotta be careful what we say, like it's all live for real, because a lot of this shit is also very much so rehearsed.
100%.
They prepare themselves for the live too. So it's more like watching Saturday Night Live like on screen now. And I think that in itself is an interesting intake. That's why I say it's more like performance art, because performance art has a bit more of an understanding that this was scheduled and this idea was kind of conceptualized ahead of time. So
Yep.
yeah.
There's still definitely a level of production to like all this stuff. I totally agree. Yeah. But I think the cool thing is it's just like, you know, if we're talking about rappers or something, for like 5 years ago, it would have just been like, you know, like oh, here's like some B-roll of me like in the studio. You know what I mean? And these days it's more so just like, oh yeah, this is the process of like me starting something from zero, and then there's like a finished product that, you know, we all get to kind of just like have fun with, like, which is interesting, because like hardly anyone was doing that, like showing the process. And now in so many, not even just like with music creation, but in a whole bunch of other stuff too, like we get to see more people's process, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing the Eric DOA live stream where he basically just made like a whole album on stream, and he just brought in like a bunch of producers, and they came to the studio and people would pop in and whatnot. And I think that it really does. So the title of this panel, it just increases engagement. Like people genuinely feel like they were there with the artists in the studio when the records were being made. So I think there is a lot to unpack there. Another topic that I want to touch on here quick is, Reo, both you and Latasha, and I guess David, we can touch on this too, have been playing around a lot with this chipped merchandise. And I think that there's a very good through line here to what we're seeing on the live stream side of things with involving fans in the actual merch process itself. So, Reo, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Pretty Co and what you guys did with some of the merchandise there, and more specifically, this idea of having a digital link to the merchandise and how that actually involves the fans and the collectors in that experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we started I started this brand with a good friend of mine who also owns this company called The Incorporated. They do a whole bunch of stuff for like Billie Eilish and, you know, Bad Bunny and really large artists. Me, I have fucking no clue what I'm doing with clothes and whatnot. So you always got to bring on people that you trust who are great on this side. And I was like, you know, I love streetwear. I love just like a comfortable, cool t-shirt. So like we started the brand with just like running these tees, and we chipped the clothes, put like exclusive content on it, and really just like the idea is to world build. And now we're like expanding into the brand, and so we're doing we're working on like an alcoholic free beverage, just an alternative for people trying to be a little bit more healthy, but still, you know, want to have a good time. So it's been a really cool experience. It did a lot better than we anticipated, and it was really cool because we were marketing it on chain, and then we were also doing it in the real world, and it was it's been a really cool experience. People have loved the t-shirts, which is great. That's everything I ever wanted, you know. And a whole bunch of people are actively scanning the chips too. So that was like something that we were really wanted to pay attention to. Does this add actual benefit to the people who are actually buying the products and whatnot? Are they really interacting with it? And so the Pretty Company, like we're evolving it. We're going to be handing out like digital compliments and stuff like that, with like some of the chips. And yeah, it's been a really cool process, and we're kind of heads down just growing it.
Nice.
Latasha, what's your experience been with chipped merchandise?
Yeah, I got to collaborate with IYK, which was really sick. We first brought my jersey to FWB Fest, and that was pretty fun to just see everybody super excited first to just have a Tosh jersey. It was my first time actually having merch at like a Web3 event, and so a lot of homies was like trying to grab a jersey before they sold out. But what the other part of it that has been really cool is just the abilities to put things within my jersey, like DJ sets or photography, or just see the community come together for the jersey. Like so many people just share their photos of them wearing the jersey and putting it out there, et cetera, et cetera. And them having like the opportunity to photo journal with their jersey within the chip as well is really cool. So I love that my merch could have like forms of communication in it. You know, if you tap the jersey, you could also get a journal affirmation from me, or a prompt, or see my process, or watch a music video, or, you know, other parts. And I think that definitely is going to be the future. Like, it's not going to just be about just getting a cool shirt from your favorite person. It's going to be like more interactive, more immersive with the merch too. I mean, that's the future of everything.
100%. I think like one of the wild things too that I was like going down this thought rabbit hole of like what more interactive merchandise and just like apparel actually looks like. It's like when you go into you know, let's say like a thrift store or something like that, and you see a really cool article of clothing that, you know, might be a dead brand at this point or something that existed, you know, a long time ago. You don't really know anything about that brand's story or anything.
Yeah, word.
And it's like, I think with some of this, like, you know, you can give at least the window will not go away unless, you know, unless you're not paying for hosting the website anymore or something. But yeah, so I think like just cementing, you know, piece of the brand's history within, you know, the chips is really, it's just like kind of a powerful thought, because yeah, I mean, I have clothes in my wardrobe right now where I'm like, I love this shirt, but I have no idea about anything about this brand because it was from, you know, the mid 90s, and now they're nowhere to be found.
Word. I think there's also like this really cool future of like the merch having a story to tell throughout, you know, its life. So, you know, it's just like what you're saying. Say I go to a vintage store and I find this merch with a chip in it, and I tap the chip and it has a story behind it and like this understanding. And then maybe you could add to that story. Actually, that's the whole concept. I'm gonna shut up now. But yeah, that's exactly it.
I also really love the idea of the fans being able to share in the success of the merch sales as well. You know, one thing that is uniquely enabled by this sort of chip merchandise is kind of this new like referral program where if you are wearing these pieces of merchandise in the wild and someone sees it and they want it, they can actually transact and buy that piece of merchandise on the spot. And I feel like right now when you think about it, people are like, where'd you get this? How do I get it? You know, it's very difficult to send a link or anything. But I was talking to Ryan yesterday, Latasha, and he mentioned that a lot of your fans were spreading around the jerseys and getting other people to buy them. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, that was really sick. I almost blanked on that part because that was like just an added addition to like how cool this shit is. But yeah, the referral link was sick because people were literally tapping and purchasing.
That's sick.
We did a commercial here in my neighborhood for the merch, and like homies were coming in and they were like, oh, I want a jersey. And they would tap the jersey and then purchase literally through that. And then the person who they purchased it from also received USDC every time someone used their referral link. So it was like a win-win for everyone. And I was just like, yeah, that's really the future for real. So yeah,
that is the future.
Yeah, IYK is really taking it through. So I'm really excited for more of that.
David, give me some of your thoughts and reflections on the chipped merchandise experience that we did together for the Hume drop that we did.
I'm going to keep it short because I feel like Reo and Latasha just like summed up a lot of it. But the unique thing for us was kind of what you were just saying, Latasha. Like, how do we give the piece of merchandise a story? And the story in this case was around the song called Unseen and being part of the Unseen Club by Angel Baby. So every version of that song that ever came out through the hoodie. You had to have the hoodie to access it. The single came out everywhere, but then there was an acoustic version, there was a remix, and the only people that got those versions were people that had the hoodie. So I think that concept can be added and combined with a lot of the things everybody said here. Like, what if it wasn't just a song and it was an album? And you're also getting like every time you refer somebody to buy the hoodie, but the hoodie is an album, you get a referral fee. Like, I think there's some cool ideas in there. Sounds like everybody here did some like solid experimenting. And I feel like in the next year, we'll see like combinations of all these ideas and it's going to get really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
What I really like about those examples too is that it wasn't too crypto forward in the sense that you didn't need to like send someone down a rabbit hole of downloading a wallet, getting them to have ETH in their wallet to buy something. The chip just enabled a faster transaction. And once that transaction was completed, the crypto part was used, as Latasha mentioned, to actually give a kickback to the original referral. But it wasn't like you needed to go and get USDC to buy this jersey or buy Reo's t-shirt or buy, you know, the hoodie in the case of David's drop. It was like the crypto part was just like the extra X factor that made this whole thing kind of come together on the back end, but you didn't have to force people down that rabbit hole. And so where I want to kind of take this conversation next has been, how have you guys thought about the evolution of getting real fans to start using all of these crypto products, using things that are kind of happening in this crypto world? David, I'll start with you, and then let's go ahead and make our way around the horn from there.
So our first iteration of this is something called Hume World. We've got a beta out of it with some early people, but virtual artists are still a tricky concept for most people. And like when you're going through TikTok, it's like, even if we make the greatest content and the greatest music of all time, there's a lot when you're like, you know, you're looking at Peanut, then you're looking at like somebody dancing, then like Hawk Tua, and then you see Death Pixie for like 5 seconds, and then you like switch to the next thing. So with Hume World, we wanted to like build a place where it was all of our content and almost make it, a lot of our fans, like we've looked at the data, are into gaming. So how do we turn all this incredible content we have into with an experience that people are familiar with, questing, scrolling through a feed, and make everything feel like a card, like Pokemon. And like, how do you start to collect cards from these virtual artists, of their videos, of their songs, for really, really cheap. Coinbase Smart Wallet, it's really easy. You click collect. If you want to top up like the money in your wallet, it's really easy to do that. And eventually, how does your loyalty to the artist based on how many of their cards you have affect how you like chat with them when you're chatting with them, like in like a personal chat room? So that's our vision. And the crypto part there, Cooper's really like just becomes in the background. Like a lot of people don't realize they're collecting these cards, and the cards, if one of them is going viral on chain, it's going to be distributed on mint.fun, and it's going to be distributed and like getting those top places. But if I'm just in the Hume World app, I just feel like I'm using anything I've ever used. So I think we're all starting to think of ways to do that, where it's like, how do you plug into the crypto world in the back end and still have all this content show up where super on-chain native people are, but also just make it really easy to onboard someone.
Same question to you, Latasha. What's your kind of game plan for 2025 and bringing real people into crypto?
Yeah, my game plan is the same game plan I always had, which is stop talking about crypto and just let it be in the back end. I think in 2021 we're so excited about like blockchain and so excited about like the concept of it all that it became the forefront of everything. And like as time went along, I realized like, oh my God, we're losing the focus, which is the art, and the focus, which is the music. And so in 2022, I wanted to reel that back in and really get back into just the focus on the artist and the music. And so, like I've always said, I think blockchain has the capabilities of really reforming the music industry and the art industry as a whole, but it needs to be at the foundation of everything. It needs to be at the basis and not at the surface of everything, because as soon as you start getting into it, you start getting into the politics of blockchain, you start getting into who are the representatives of blockchain, and people get lost in that instead of what the actual tool is. I think at the root, blockchain is neutral. And the people who have gotten the resources out of it in the forefront of it often aren't a representation of everyone. And so we lose sight on what the real work is within it. And so the 2025, it's really about that. It's about building platforms yeah, I was talking to CY about this a lot because I don't see the album being as imperative as it used to be. I see the platform being the future. And so for me, it's about building a platform for me, like a container for me and my creativity, and utilizing blockchain on the basis of it all.
I want to stick on that for 1 second because you brought up CY, and I feel like he's a great example of someone who's gone beyond just being a fan to being a patron and a contributor to your vision. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that relationship and just how it's kind of panned out over time?
Yeah, CY is just an incredible being who has become an executive producer to my process right now. So he offered funding towards all the things that I'm building for next year, and has really just allowed me to hire out, onboard, get people into the mix of my world, because I've been a solopreneur for a very long time, and everything that I've ever built was literally community and me figuring things out. But now I'm finally getting this opportunity with some funding to hire out a marketing team, hire out a distribution team, hire out the folks that I need to build this world that I'm building with me. And a lot of it is through CY's understanding of the value of the things that myself and a lot of artists in the Web3 space are bringing forward. So forever grateful for that person, but also I think we understand energy exchange. And I think that's the basis of what artists are doing in this space, is offering a really amazing energy exchange towards culture. And we need to fund that. And so shout out to CY for showing up for culture.
That was always the thing that was the biggest unlock for me as a fan and as a collector, was that crypto kind of enabled me to get closer to my favorite artists by showing them that I wanted to go deeper. I think that in a lot of ways, when it came to the traditional fan experiences, whether it was going to shows or streaming the music or buying the merchandise, it was very difficult to be seen as a fan. And I feel like the one thing that's been the most promising through line for all of this crypto stuff is just allowing super fans, and in this case, an executive producer, to really rise to the top. I know obviously there's a lot of different ways to do that, but I think, like, in short, the fact that he was able to build this relationship with you, provide funding that would be basically impossible to provide through the traditional means, and now have this super involved creative process with you, I feel like that's a pretty prime example of what this space is meant to enable and offer.
Literally, it is one of the many examples that we're figuring out. And I think what CY's approach is in understanding that the artists that he is supporting are going to really be the pinnacle of what the future modern artist is going to look like, you know? And so his work right now is finding more people like him. And so he just wants to be that example for that for the future.
I love that. And Reo, turning this over to you, I want to start with the question I asked the other two panelists here, which is, what are your kind of plans and intentions on bringing more real people into the space? And then specifically through Loners, I know you guys are exploring a lot of stuff at the intersection of music and social. Do you want to talk more about kind of your plans and vision for the year ahead here?
Yeah, 100%. I think Tosh really kind of explained everything that I've been thinking for sure. I think that I don't want to say in my own bubble, but I think that I did lose a little bit of vision of like why we were all doing this a little bit. And like, people come for great products. Like, I think just like bar none. And sometimes it's easy to talk to specifically to just like the audience that's already here. But then it's like, I think that for us, where our heads are at is like, what does it look like to just build an amazing product that, you know, everyone's just going to like, no matter if you were a crypto native doing things on chain, or if you have no idea like what's been going on over here for, you know, the last couple cycles or whatever. And so we have taken like Loners is like, it started as a collective. It was never supposed to be a company. I always tell everyone this. We were just a whole bunch of people doing, like, creating music on chain for, you know, just the love of making music. And then, you know, we fell into a pocket of, oh, shoot, I guess we're kind of a label now. And we were distributing a whole bunch of music for other creators. And I think the essence of that and like what we were doing at this point when we started is exactly kind of where the direction that we're going in now. So we're looking at like, what does it look like to just build amazing and large catalog? And so we've been hard focused on that for the last like 6 months. And on top of that, we're creating this. It's a new kind of way of socializing through music. So we've built like an application that is, I don't want to say Tinder for music, but like that's like the easiest way to kind of probably imagine it, right? So it's like people's taste. So you can meet people in your vicinity. Let's call it like a 10-mile radius, and you can go through and see different songs that other people are listening to. Swipe left, swipe right on these things that, you know, these songs that you're liking. You get like, let's say, a 15-second preview of this. And you're building almost like an arsenal of like taste profile. And so you're able to also see who is recommending kind of these song picks. And then also you can see a history of like the things that they're listening to. So if you want to connect with people who have similar taste to you, this is one way to do it. But then also kind of get up and get active. It's a good way to meet other people who love music, who want to go to a live event, you know, that's in your, you know, wherever you are geo-wise, right? Alternatively, we think that maybe people want to use it to connect, like in their, you know, whatever major city that they're in, to go see live shows and whatnot, but also to meet people maybe around the world who you'll never probably connect with in real life, but might have the exact same taste profile as you, might just like be the most amazing friend ever. And so you can turn off the location services as well and just, you know, meet people on the internet and build a social profile, like literally based off of just like your taste in music.
That's sick. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that comes out like really soon, and it's it's definitely. I don't want to. I'm obviously biased, but it's like I think it's going to be one of the coolest music products that's like out, and it'll be in the App Store and whatnot. So
I'm really excited for that one. I think that's going to be so fire, kind of like having a pen pal for music.
Yeah,
energy, or I don't know. I grew up on the tape situation. I grew up seeing people like record tapes and then pass the tapes along, and that's kind of like that kind of energy, like the mixing passing energy.
Yeah,
digitally, that's fire. I love that. So.
Yeah, we just like it's kind of blows my mind like that there's just not that big of a social. I mean, like when you think about music and social, like my thought goes to like whatever your favorite song was, like you would put it on MySpace. Now Instagram has kind of like offered like, hey, this is maybe the mood that I'm feeling right now, so they have it on their bio, which is like a new feature, I think. But you know, if I think about like these things that the Spotify algorithm is recommending to me, it's not almost as impactful in my mind as like when I was, you know, young and my homie would show me, oh, yo, you got to check this artist out, bro. Like that's not the same experience. This kind of just like algorithmically fed, you know, new music. Like I want to be able to find stuff that maybe I can flex and say, hey, yo, I was here fucking early and like put my people onto it and whatnot. And so, yeah, that's how I'm hoping that a lot of people will use the product and whatnot. But yeah, we'll see. You never know, right? You just got to get it out.
Yeah. Well, the one through line that I'm hearing here from everyone is that building product has become a very high priority and emphasis amongst everyone on this call. You know, I know that we're all taking different approaches to what those products look like, what these worlds look like, but I guess, Reo, sticking with you for 1 second, talk to me about your evolution as an artist releasing music to now a founder that is leading a tech team and a product team and trying to kind of bring these things to life in a medium that's very different from how you started with releasing music.
Yeah, for sure. I am not afraid to admit, like, I've gotten lucky a whole bunch of times in my life, but I think it's a mix of luck and just like a disgusting amount of hard work and just like sticking it out. So yeah, I mean, I moved to Los Angeles when I was like 21 years old. Had never like written a song like in a studio or anything like that, and I was on like a full ride scholarship, and one day I just kind of woke up and I was like, I'm not happy here. Let me just move to Los Angeles. And I like couch surfed, met people while I was out here, and was very fortunate. After a year of grinding, like signed a major record label deal with Capitol, and I did that, and I thought like, oh shoot, like I I made it. I must have made it. But like in retrospect, I had like a 16-point deal on all of my masters, which means that I roughly owned like 16% of everything that I was creating. And I would never see like a penny of that until I had made millions of dollars back off of that budget. And that's kind of what led me to going fully independent. And I got lucky again. All of my biggest records ended up, happening after I was already independent. And it taught me that the future of music, it was going to be, it needed to be more, it needed a change and like disruptiveness. And I think that that's like really what I decided to just like dedicate my life pretty much to that in 2020. And so like that's what we've been doing, is trying to find new unlocks, ways to new ways to monetize for creators, a lot more friendly deal kind of just like situations and whatnot. Because if you once you kind of realize that the artist in like the major system, just the machine in general, they're not really monetizing off of the art, and it's just fucked up, because there's no real way to kind of like grow, build wealth for a musician. You have to go play these shows, or you have to start new companies. That's why most of these guys who actually have attained, something of value in music is only based off of full catalog, and they have to sell that thing in order to extract value, or else like by starting a different company. Like
or they have other companies.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. And I think that should change, and that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because the independent artist should be able to make a living, whether it's just even just through content creation, because that's what artists love doing. Like we're here to create things. The moment that you start saying like, hey, you have to go do all these things in order to earn a dollar, I just think that's a really really scary reality, and it just feels unnatural and wrong. But maybe that's why music has evolved, and now instead of like 3-minute records, we have 1-minute songs, 1 minute 30. Everyone's trimming the fat in order to build bigger catalogs. And our art has changed a whole bunch, and I think it's because of probably influenced through deal structures. Yeah.
I guess turning that question over to you, Latasha, how has the product orientation kind of changed your view on building your world? How are you thinking about evolving your world when it comes to releasing this next album? And just what's the relationship between your music and sort of the product side of things these days?
Yeah, I recently talked about this on my Instagram, how like I had to trust the non-conformist and the non-traditional route right now, because I think that's really the only future we're having right now. I don't think there's going to be there will always be the record deal. There will always be those kind of mainstays in the industry for artists. But for me in particular, and the way that I create and the way that I see art is not in a linear path, and it's not in a one-dimensional path. It's multi-dimensional. And the only way that we're going to really be able to create a container out of that is through a product or through a platform of some sort. Along with that, I think being in this space has taught me that there is an art in other forms outside of music, right? Like there is an art in creating community, and there is an art in curation, and there is an art in in just developing content in different kind of sectors, like utilizing Zora art is like utilizing Zora and utilizing Instagram to me has very different forms of art, right? And so I considered that more, and I'm like, okay, the whole premise is to be multidimensional. And now how do I create a world for that multidimensionalness? And so product has become really important to me because of that. And I always say this on Twitter, but it's like the artist is the platform, right? I really believe that. And we keep finding that artists are so focused on platforms instead of focused on themselves and building up their own thing. And I don't know. I just think that that's the way we're going to have to really move forward. I love to look at Nipsey Hussle a lot and how Nipsey did it, or Hove even did it, because they created their platforms for themselves. Or even a Childish Gambino, you know, Childish really was able to kind of utilize transmedia and building in different worlds to build his own world. And so utilizing blockchain is really allowing me to do that now. And I hope I answered that question, but yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
100%. And I guess, David, taking it to you to kind of round out this question, what is the motto internally right now for Hume with the rollout of the Hume World app that you guys are developing, with all of the live streams you guys are developing? What's just kind of like the internal message that you're giving to the team at this moment?
Kind of similar to what Latasha just said. Like, we can only go so far on Instagram and TikTok and even live streaming. We need a place where you can fall in love with our artists and the way we want you to experience our artists. Those platforms are great places to meet these virtual artists, to pique your interest. But if we don't have a place where we let the people who want to go deeper into these worlds and interact in the way that we know, or at least we think is best for them to interact, or we can learn from them how they want to interact with these artists and build it ourselves, that's where the magic happens. And it got to a point where we just knew there's a ceiling to what we can do on TikTok and Instagram, and no one here has said it. And Latasha, you kind of like alluded to it, but in the beginning of some of those social media platforms, you actually were building a platform on the app. Like your followers actually did matter. And followers in the Spotify algorithm too, monthly listeners mattered. And the algorithms no longer directly serve the audience that chose to follow you.
Right.
Everything is put into an algorithmic wave based on that individual content. So I think a reason why a lot of us are even having these conversations is some of the people on this call actually did build platforms on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. Actually, YouTube still might be a good one, but like Instagram and TikTok. But then those platforms changed, and now they're no longer a platform for the artist. And now you got to make your own.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we can't even reach the full audience, even on
That's what I mean. Like that's like really what I mean. Like all these people followed you, and they used to actually see your content, and now I don't know how many people are seeing that content. And the monthly listeners thing also, like, I don't know.
Right.
We've seen the monthly listener to like people who actually seem to hear the song on the first day ratio has like completely
changed. Yeah,
it's completely changed.
Yeah, I think it's just this concept that my partner talks about a lot is like Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, they just become the key. Like they're just like a key towards the other thing that you're really building. And you just have to utilize these platforms to get people to scope what you are, what you do, and then take them over to your world. And I think that's going to be what all artists have to do in the future, especially if you want the data.
In closing thoughts here, I feel like all you guys are in a unique spot where you survived the bear market. And there was a very specific reason why I invited all of you guys to be on this panel, because all of you have been finding ways to stay alive and to stay active in the midst of a time when many people left the space, moved on from it, gave up on it, etc. So I guess my closing question for you is just, where do you think we're at now? You know, having been movers in the space the last couple of years, we're kind of entering this new phase, this new cycle in the market. What's your kind of words of encouragement and your kind of current point of view on the crypto and music intersection and what this kind of looks like in the year to come. Open floor for whoever wants to take that first.
I think this is the most exciting time ever. Everything finally works. There's a way to make onboarding easy. There's a way to make things cool. There's a way to not have to explain 5 different things so somebody can use the product you thought of. It's not theoretical. It's real. It's here. And in some ways, I wish that I knew nothing about crypto and was starting today. Like, I really think the best thing people who have been in crypto for a long time can do is almost like erase 95% of it and have a day one mindset. I've been trying to do more of that, especially the last month, because it's never been a better time, from the tech to the regulatory environment to the community. Like, there's legit just like random people on TikTok finding out they're making their own meme points. Meme points aren't even starting on crypto Twitter. Like, this is the best time to ever start a career in this industry.
Yeah, no more making smart contracts from scratch anymore.
Oh yeah, like
you can have at least some starting points now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, I kind of agree. I don't know if it's fully there yet. I still think there's a lot of jankiness that we got to work through. But I think for the newcomer, it is the easiest. But I think I do think we lost some essence of the ownership aspect that I really was a fan of in the beginnings of crypto. Not to be a hater on the new evolution. I'm always here for evolution. But I think what we need to work on is bringing that energy back of like owning what you make on this platforms. Yeah.
Maybe because there's been so much attention on tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe hopium from me and for you too, Latasha. But I do believe this. Like, maybe no one's done NFTs right for this new environment. This is a completely new environment. So someone's got to do it right. I think Phantom is top 10 in the App Store right now. Like, that's insane. So there's a way to bring these things out, but they haven't been the focus in terms of the people who have built the best consumer-friendly apps that really onboard people. So it's up for the people that are on this call to, if that's what we want to do, we got to bring that to the table, and the tech is out there, and I think we can do it.
Yeah, facts.
I think that's a really good place to leave it here. I want to go around the horn and do final closing thoughts. So for people that have listened to this conversation, what's the best place to stay up with your work and the best place to follow along with your journey? Reo, we'll start with you, go to Latasha, and then David from there.
Yeah, I'm just Reo Cragun on all socials, on Twitter and whatnot. And and Loners is LNRZ.
Call me Latasha on all socials. Call me Latasha with an L. And then if you want to find me on my website, tosh55.xyz.
I'm at DB3045 and follow at We Are Hume.
I love that. And I've been Cooper from Coop Records here. Kim, we'll toss it back over to you. You're on mute.
You're muted, by the way.
The best. It's not a panel if you don't have someone screw up the mute. I was sitting behind the scenes wishing I could react to all of your comments. So thank you all so much for joining. This was such a fun panel. We had a lot of community comments happening in Decentraland as well. 33 Below's performance is starting right now over in Decentraland. So if you are in World, jump in over to the stage. If you are not yet, you can go to decentraland.org, download, and jump right into the music festival. We are having 4 days of EDM performances, live VIP panels just like this one, 18 plus wearables and emotes for you all to claim for free from these creators. So lots of fun stuff. And I hope to rave with everyone in World soon. Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciated it.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you at the stage.
Bye, everyone.